Well, it is Hollywood's biggest night. We're talking about the Academy Awards, and this year, in the wake of the Me Too and Time's Up movements, well, the real drama could actually begin on the red carpet, where usually stars put their best fashion foot forward. With that, let's bring in Yelena Adzik, who has more on this story for us. And you know, when we talk about the fashion foot forward, the red carpet really is not a place where controversy exists, but it may be this year.
Well, yeah, I mean, it hasn't traditionally, but you're right. You think of the Golden Globes, where everyone wore black, even the Grammys, everyone wore the flowers, or a lot of people did at least. And so there has been that move over this past year to wear something. Curiously, this year at the Oscars, the organizers of the Time's Up movement, the leaders, are actually encouraging people not to wear black. I'm going to give you an example right now. Ava DuVernay, she's the filmmaker of Selma and 13th. Well, she is one of the leaders of the Time's Up movement, and here's what she had to say. Quote, "We are not an award show protest group, so we stand down this time. It's really important that you know that Time's Up is not about the red carpet. And those women you saw on the red carpet representing Time's Up," she means at the Globes, "are now off the red carpet working their butts off being activists." So really an interesting turn there. Scandal creator Shonda Rhimes, she's another Time's Up leader. She also said she wants them to be, quote, strategic about their exposure. So, okay, they might not want the focus to be on Time's Up, but you know what? There is no doubt that there is this shadow that exists on the red carpet tonight. Everyone will be watching for what will happen around Ryan Seacrest, right? He is a staple of the red carpet, and he asks the questions, but maybe this time a lot of questions are going to be asked of him. The host, he was accused of sexual misconduct from a former personal stylist, Susie Hardy. Now, Seacrest has denied the allegations. He says he's been falsely accused. And NBC Universal, that's the parent company of E!, they said it opted to keep him as the host of tonight's red carpet coverage. That's after an investigation. And so now, this is worth remembering. At the Golden Globes red carpet, Deborah Messing, Eva Longoria, they used their E! interviews to chastise the network over what they say is pay inequality. So if they speak to him tonight, what will they say? If other stars speak to him, what will they say? Or will they even speak to him? You know, we've heard interviews, for example, from Jennifer Lawrence saying, she's leaving the door open to not talking to him at all. So it's really interesting. So that's one issue. But what about gun control? That is something that has been on the minds of a lot of people. And indeed, there is a pin that is being provided to those who want to wear it. It says, "Wear orange to prevent gun violence." And that is provided from the advocacy group, Every Town for Gun Safety. So really a lot going on before the show even begins.
Yeah, before the show begins. So that must increase the pressure on Jimmy Kimmel, who, of course, is once again hosting this year's Oscars.
Yeah, and he's been so vocal this past year about issues related to healthcare, Me Too, and gun control. And so he's been interesting because he's given conflicting interviews over what he plans to do in the Oscars. At one point, he said, "Oh, no, you know, this is about celebrating the people." And then at another point, he said, "But if I want to speak my mind, I will." So he's being a bit coy on this topic. We do know that tonight we definitely are going to be seeing, at least at one point, Salma Hayek, Ashley Judd, Annabella Shore. These are Me Too movement influencers. They're going to be presenting tonight. That moment inside, in general, Hollywood heavyweights really want us all to focus on the movies. This is about an ad campaign. That's what really the Oscars are. And so they want to put the focus there. I think it's still fascinating to watch what happens behind and around that screen.
The plastic wrapping is off at the red carpet as Hollywood gets ready to celebrate its biggest award night, and it could prove to be a huge evening for women in the film industry. With that, let's go to Zuleika Nathy. You see her right there standing at the red carpet of the Oscars at the Dolby Theatre in Hollywood. So a remarkable year of firsts for women. Walk us through what has happened this calendar year, Zuleika.
Yeah, I mean, it's been more of a serious tone leading up to this award ceremony, particularly because of the Me Too movement and the call for gender equality throughout award season. But today, on the big day, the energy is actually very high. You have the fans over here that have already gotten comfortable in the bleachers. You have a ton of media that are set up, waiting to speak to celebrities and hear their voices. And it indeed is possibly going to be a historic night for a number of reasons. So let's start with Rachel Morrison, because if she wins in her category for the film Mudbound, she will become the first woman ever to win Best Cinematography. She's already the first woman to ever be nominated in that category. And for the same film, Dee Reese is the first Black woman ever to be nominated in the category of Best Adapted Screenplay. So if she wins, again, this could be quite historic. I had the chance to speak with her co-writer, who's also nominated in that same category, category for Mudbound, Virgil Williams, at a pre-Oscars screenwriting event. And here's what he told me about breaking barriers.
You know, I think that there's always barriers if you're a minority. If you're a female, there's always assumptions that get made about what you can or can't do, what you should or shouldn't do. The first reaction that I got when I wanted to take this on was, please don't. You should do something more urban, something more gritty, something that's easier to sell, because people don't buy period pieces.
Well, you know, it's interesting, Zuleka, because there you have Virgil Williams saying that there's still much to be done. What is the ratio of men to women when it comes to nominees?
Well, I think this is actually going to provide quite a bit of perspective for you, Michael, because when it comes to the non-acting categories at the Oscars this year, so visual effects, film editing, sound mixing, all those behind-the-scenes categories, 77% of those nominees are men. And the Academy can really only vote on what they see in Hollywood. So recent research is showing that that's actually quite an accurate picture of what's happening in the entertainment industry, that the numbers are significantly low, that there's much to be done. And that's partly why the fact that Greta Gerwig being nominated for Best Director, and she's the only woman in that category to be nominated, why it's such a big deal, because if she wins, she'll only be the second woman ever in Oscars' 90-year history to win as a woman in that category. There's only ever been 5 female nominees for Best Director, and Catherine Bigelow is the only woman who has ever won in 90 years.